Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Tevise T801A automatic. Start out with the wrist check. I'm wearing a Balgella 22803, and Greg was wearing my Wooer 5903, or is it just Wooer? Grogu said he saw Hondo, the space pirate, on Tatooine and asked Mando if he would take him in for the bounty. Mando said that the space pirates helped with the rebellion, and afterwards the New Republic worked out an agreement with the pirates to grant them amnesty. This agreement is known as the Hondo Accord. Alright, let's take a look at the watch. The watch comes with this sizing tool. It's not the best in the world, but it's decent. The trouble is that once you break it, you can't replace the tip, and then it's useless, but it's still a pretty good tool considering it was free. Then let's take a look at the watch. We have a cleaning cloth. It's not too bad. Not as good as a Night Design cleaning cloth, but at least it's not tiny. And then we have the watch. This is the second Tevise on my channel and the second sub-homage. The first one was basically the quartz version of this model, so why review it again? One of my viewers asked me to review the automatic version, and I thought it was a reasonable request. The Tevise is well known in the watch world as one of the cheapest automatic sub-homages that don't seem god-awful. Yes, you'll never confuse it for the real thing, but it is worth the $25 or less you'll pay for one. The Tevise is also well known for having the infamous spelling error of superlative chronometer. Unfortunately, they must have fixed this typo, and this one says superlative chronometer, which it most certainly is not. This turns a fun little typo into a bold-faced lie. The watch is 42.6 millimeters at the bezel, and the bezel slightly overhangs the case. It's 51.1 millimeters lug to lug, 55.7 millimeters if you count the protruding male end links. It's 14.8 millimeters thick because it's got a lot thicker case back than the quartz version. Has a 20 millimeter lug width and weighs 133 grams on the supply bracelet with one link removed, so it's a little bit heavier than the quartz version also. The bezel is a 60 click unidirectional. The action's kind of mushy and there's a lot of back play, and sometimes you can even go past the click going backwards. So it's basically the same as the quartz model. Then the insert is aluminum, and there's no engraving or anything like that on the bezel. Then the dial on these Tevises is very nice looking. It's got a nice sunburst effect, and this being a bluesy version of the sub, there's a little purple tint to the dial, but looking at my camera, it looks completely blue. Out of the camera, there's a slight purple tint, but not horrible. I remember at one time sub bluesies did have a purple tint to the dial. Then the indices, we have applied batons at the 9 and the 6 and a triangle at the 12. Then we have dots everywhere else, and these Lume dots, though, if you look at them, they stick out above the edges, and they're more like little Lume pips. It's like they took Lume pips and put them as the dots. And the Lume is quite different than the quartz version that I tested, but we'll test that later. Then the hands, you got your typical sub hands with the fence post minute hand, Mercedes hour hand, and lollipop second hand. And unlike the quartz version, the lollipop's in the right position. The quartz version, the lollipop stuck out almost to the very edge of the second hand, and I like this one a lot better. Then we have a date at the 3 with a cyclops, and that cyclops hardly magnifies at all, but at least it's a little bit more centered than the quartz version was. The quartz version was way off center. This one isn't too bad position wise, it just doesn't hardly magnify. On the dial, we have the Tevise name and logo up top with the word automatic, and the quartz one said quartz. Then it says 100 feet equals 30 meters, and yes, that's all you get is 30 meters. Then it says superlative chronometer, officially certified, and this is not officially certified, so this is a bold-faced lie. Then the crown is a push-pull because you only have 30 meters, so why would you have a screw down? And the crown guards are huge. They even stick up above the crown. And unfortunately, though, this makes it a little bit difficult to hand wind the watch because these crown guards, I kind of wish they weren't so prominent. But the crown action and when you're setting the hands is just fine. And unlike the quartz version, it's not all loosey-goosey when you go to push it in. But yeah, this is a lot better than the quartz version as far as hand setting. Then the crystal is a flat mineral glass, sticks out barely above the bezel, and does fine. I mean, yeah, it's scratch resistant. It's not sapphire. You're not going to get sapphire for under $25, that's for sure. And I'm fine with that anyway, because sapphire, you get a lot of reflection if you don't got AR undercoating. And if it gets all scratched up, then just replace it. It's not a big deal. This watch is not expensive. And then the case is a chrome-plated alloy. You're not going to get stainless steel at this price usually. I mean, it's fine. It's basically the same case as the quartz. The only reason it's thicker is the quartz had a thinner case back. Then speaking of the case back, we have a display case back. It says water resistant, stainless steel back. Stainless steel back is a good tell that the case is not stainless steel. Then it's a display case back, and it shows off the movement. I don't know what the movement is. I just assume it's your basic Chinese Tongji movement. And this is just your cheap 3 hertz. And I don't know how many joules. But I put it on the time grapher. It doesn't seem too bad. Let's go ahead and do that though. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, it's running pretty good. Plus 13, plus 3. No beat error. The amplitude's kind of weak. Plus 12 there. That's not too bad considering the price of this watch. You're not going to get chronometer specs no matter what it says on the dial. And so yeah, I'm happy with that. This is also a non-hacking movement, so whether it runs slow or fast is no issue because there's no advantage to being fast over slow like in a hacking movement. So yeah, not too bad. The bracelet is just like the quartz version. It's got hollow end links, but the links themselves are very nice. And I do see a seam in there, so they are folded over, but at least they're not rolled. And you can barely see the seam. It's not very noticeable. And it does make the watch a little bit lighter, not being solid. But though it still has this pretty bad clasp. The worst part about this clasp is since it's a side pusher here and not a double, it's got this huge mechanism there which takes up most of the room, and then you only get 2 holes of micro adjust instead of 3, and you need at least 3. And yeah, the clasp is the weak part, but the bracelet's really good. Oh yeah, you also have push pin adjusters. Obviously you have push pin because it came with a sizing tool to push out the push pins and didn't come with a screwdriver. And I'm just fine with push pins. At least they don't fall out on you like sometimes the screw pins get unscrewed. And sometimes you can strip a screw pin, but you break a push pin, just replace it. No big deal. Here's the watch and my 7.5-inch wrist. It's a big one. It's pretty thick, pretty chunky. And I only removed one link, so 7 3/4, that's about as best you're going to do without getting more links. Once again, I've been told that you can always ask for more links when you order a watch, and sometimes you'll get them. I've never tried that, so don't take my word for it. But it's always worth a shot. Here we are in the Lume room. Not sure why I'm bothering, but since I'm reviewing it, I might as well do it. As we speed up the time, the first to go is the Lume pip. Then the hands are about gone, and then the major indices. The index dots are not awful, but who cares? Why is the best Lume on the watch the least significant? I went back and reviewed my quartz version video, and in that quartz version, the major indices were better than the dots. But the hands were still awful. What do I like about this watch? Well, I like the looks. It's a nice looking watch. It looks a lot like a Rolex Bluesy. I like the bracelet. I think they do a really good job with these Tevise bracelets. Unlike the clasp, which is awful. And I really like the dial. It's got a nice sunburst effect, and the writing on it looks clean, and it's a nice looking dial. And I like the fact that the movement is not god-awful considering the price. Yeah, for 16 seconds it's kind of fast, but it's not outrageous, and at least it's fairly consistent. What are my gripes and groans? The Cyclops hardly magnifies at all. The clasp only has 2 holes for micro adjust. The crown guards are so big it makes hand winding the watch difficult. I only removed one link to fit on my wrist, so it will not fit a wrist bigger than 7 3/4. And please don't say chronometer on the dial, unless you are a chronometer. Do I recommend this watch? I'm going to say the same thing I said about the quartz model. It's an okay watch considering the price. So yes, I recommend it since it's under $25. If it was more than $25, I would say stay clear. I don't think you can get a much better automatic sub-homage for this price. So yes, I recommend it. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Tevise T801A automatic, and I will be back with another review. More than likely that woo-wear that Grogu is wearing. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.